reparations is about repair. And to the question of who gets reparations, reparations is owed to those who've been harmed. Let's make sure we have a conversation about who's been harmed and how. There is in the moment a gathering momentum for reparatory justice, reparations, and a national healing conversation. The reason why we are experiencing this momentum in the moment is because the present is catching up with overdue history.
Joe Biden said to Black Americans, y'all have always had my back, which is we're fools for doing that, and he would have ours. He can, with executive order, bring back the Freedmen's Bureau, and he has not done it. That bureau has an unfinished job of repairing the great inequities that we see here in America, where Black Americans have been in this country longer than nearly all other ethnic groups, and yet we're to the bottom in terms of land and wealth. And as far as why Sojo Pro-Biden has yet to do anything similar, it's because he doesn't have to. Unfortunately, Black Americans, we are a captured electorate, and that is our fault. Reparations is about a debt that is due. It is not to fight against racism. It is not to punish white people, and it is not race-based. Reparations is lineage status-based. So pretty much anyone who is identifying as Black and they are a descendant of an American enslaved or a person who was emancipated by the U.S. government, a freedman, they qualify for reparations.
And all we're saying, let's just chill and pay your debt, your sin bill of enslavement, of discrimination, of intimidation, of terrorizing Black people. But when you look at it deeply, the horrors, the hellishness, and the harm that was done to African Americans and their descendants. But if you can't pay all of that, say what you can pay. That's the point. But you cannot put a dollar sign on what has been done to Black people. I repeat again, our sin bill in this nation has been so high because of the long years of doing nothing. The interest has grown. And any person who would say, no, you don't deserve it, it says that they do not respect the humanity of Black people.
The whole narrative is driven by what a colleague of mine called a small group of guilty whites who are seeking absolutions from crimes they never committed, and a group of entitled Blacks who are seeking absolutions from injustice they never suffered. It's more complicated than whites are guilty and Blacks are victims. There were 3,700 Blacks who own, free Blacks who own 13,000 slaves. Well, do the descendants of those people pay? Low-income Black communities having a 9/11 every 6 months. More Blacks are killed in 1 year by other Blacks than were killed in the 40 years by the Klan. And so tell me how reparations could address that critical crisis. I really think that the whole issue of reparations is an extension of that misuse of the rich legacy of the civil rights movement.
This reparations push is not new. It's being repackaged, and it will not benefit Black Americans, nor will it benefit Americans. They're pushing it, not because they care about Black people. I believe that the Democrats, I hate to politicize it, but this is what they do, that they see this as a way to get Black Americans all excited about 2024, believing that if they elect a Democrat president, that somehow that person will push it through Congress. And we've seen this before. They make all kinds of promises. They promise the moon, they deliver nothing, and it's more the same.
It's just simply a scheme to gain votes from voters. That's all it is. These things are not possible. It's not going to be possible to pay for these programs. And quite frankly, I don't believe the people who are talking about it want to pay.
At present, what we found is that just over a third of Americans either somewhat or definitely support the idea of providing reparations in the form of cash payments to descendants of enslaved people, but that just under 2/3 of Americans think that the federal government definitely should or probably should not. And so we're really seeing kind of a 2-to-1 split where just under 2/3 of Americans are opposed to reparations. The most common reason among those who said that that reparations should not be provided in the form of cash payments, the most common reason was that descendants of enslaved people did not deserve cash payments. And so roughly a quarter of those who oppose reparations use that justification.
It's a suite of redress that should occur because some of the injury was really resulted in a loss of income and wealth. And so in those cases, you're really talking about a cash payment. Some of it is in the form of scholarships, business loans, and other programs that Black people simply could not enjoy.
The thought that the wealth that was around in 1865 has just been put in an idle bank account, accruing interest for the next 150 years, and we could gather it. This is just another one of these kinds of fantasies. Suppose you wanted to do something, how do you calculate it? It turns out none of the deficits or benefits that have been supplied by the modern system are taken into account. So if people have gotten an affirmative action program that gave them a very attractive education at a very low rate of interest, it turns out that's just not part of this particular occasion. You don't give any reverse. If it turns out you're a criminal, you murdered several people, maybe of your own race, that doesn't stop you from getting reparations either.
It's not just about a check. It's not just about programs. It's also about a formal apology and acknowledging that racism robbed people of the opportunity to grow.